Hello everyone and welcome back to Average Nerd Talks. Now I know it's been a while since I actually made a video. Having a full-time job and keeping up with YouTube is quite hard. That's something I've come to realize over time. But anyway, I'm back. Now with Windows 10 quickly approaching its end of support, I know a lot of people are looking for alternatives to it, which are not Windows 11. And there could be a bunch of different reasons for it. One is, of course, the annoying ads and Microsoft services, which Microsoft loves to push at you, like Copilot and Recall and Microsoft Edge and a bunch of crap that's usually loaded up in your Windows Start menu, which doesn't actually make sense. The other is the lack of customizability, like, for example, not being able to move where your taskbar is. The point is, you should be able to do it if you really want to, right? The third is privacy concerns. Now, sad part is literally every mainstream operating system that you use nowadays is going to have some privacy issues. But if you are concerned about your privacy and want to switch to something that's, more privacy focused, you might be looking for a Linux-based operating system. Inconsistent and buggy updates. Now, it's a well-known fact that Windows tends to have updates which just break things. I've had Windows breaking my USB ports at one point. I've also had it break an external sound card, a DAC essentially. People have had their files deleted for absolutely no reason, blue screens. So yeah, people are kind of tired with the whole inconsistency and the bugginess of Windows. So yeah, a lot of people are looking for change. Well, in any case, I've talked about tweaking Fedora in the past to make it kind of like a viable gaming distro. The link to that video is down in the description, by the way. So recently, I've been using Bazzite for gaming, and in this video, I thought I'd talk about why it might be a better fit for you versus something like Windows 11. So of course, the most important question here is what is Bazzite and why am I recommending it, right? So Bazzite is an atomic OS which is based on Fedora, and it's specifically designed for gaming. Okay, so there are some caveats to having an immutable or atomic OS. The first is that the primary way of installing applications is not your RPM or APT anymore, it's Flatpaks or app images. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't use RPM to install any new packages. It just means that you have to use something called RPM OS tree. What that means is your system image or your operating system image, that's going to remain untouched, and any package that you install is going to be layered on top of it, right? So you can update your base image in your base system, and the layered packages will be updated separately. Now, at least for Bazzite, it comes bundled with something called Homebrew. Now, if you've used macOS in the past, then you probably know, or are using macOS, you probably know what Homebrew is. It's a terminal-based application or package manager. So a lot of terminal applications which don't have Flatpak variants, you can just use Homebrew or Brew to install all these packages. It also makes an excellent dev environment. If you're used to developing anything on Mac, then you're probably using Brew anyway. Another caveat here is that dual booting Bazzite and Windows or Bazzite or any other operating system can be a bit buggy. So the best way to do it, you can dual boot, but the best way to do it in this situation would be to have a separate hard drive or a separate disk, could be an SSD, and have Bazzite installed on that. Now, Bazzite comes in two different variants. One is the desktop variant and the other is the deck variant, which kind of mimics the interface that the Steam Deck has. So if you're looking to switch to something besides Windows, but you don't want to have to set up too many things out of the box and you just want something that works, then Bazzite is for you. Graphics drivers are bundled out of the box. That includes Intel, AMD, and NVIDIA. Steam and all required compatibility packages are installed out of the box. So you have Proton. You also have Proton Up, so you can install some different version of Proton if you want. It's also a fully functional operating system, which includes Flatpak and FlatHub integration out of the box. So unlike Fedora, where you actually have to go and install FlatHub and install a lot of other packages, everything's already included for you, so it's a full-fledged OS. It can also be installed on older hardware that doesn't actually support Windows 11. So say you do want to update to Windows 11, but there's no way you can because maybe you have an older processor or your system doesn't support TPM or whatever, you can install Bazzite on it and still continue to use it for gaming. Now, there are a few things to note here. It's that the performance for AMD hardware, meaning if you have an AMD CPU and an AMD GPU, you're going to have the best performance you're going to get. Typically, I've noticed that the performance is either comparable or better than Windows. Specifically for AMD GPUs though, performance is comparable to Windows, and in most cases, it's actually better. So the performance of NVIDIA GPUs on Linux operating systems is generally a lot lower than you would get on Windows. So the performance hit could be something around 20% in the worst case. So yeah, it's just something you should be aware of if you are trying to switch to Linux. Now, there are plenty of YouTube videos which corroborate these claims. You can go and look them up. I don't have the hardware, unfortunately, to test both AMD and NVIDIA and all of this. So I'm just going off of what I have generally seen on community reports and in tests. Now, the other version of Bazzite that's available to you is the Steam Deck or the handheld version, right? So if you have a Steam Deck and you're happy with how it's working for you, you're happy with the interface, then Bazzite is probably going to be very similar when it comes to the general usability and the experience. So Bazzite supports a myriad of handhelds, including but not limited to the Lenovo Legion Go, the ROG Ally, the GPD Win, and I think the MSI Claw, but that's still in beta. So if you're used to the Steam Deck and its interface, you can basically just install Bazzite on any one of these handhelds and have it work. Hey, you can even install it on a Steam Deck, but not sure why you would want to do that. It also works really well if you're trying to set up a home gaming console kind of thing, which you want to connect to your TV and put in your living room. Now, if you want to do something like that, it would be advisable for you to use an AMD-based system, so an AMD APU or a AMD GPU, because Bazzite is known to have trouble with NVIDIA GPUs if you're trying to use the gaming interface. Now, I'm personally using something called the B-Link SER8. That has a Ryzen 8745HS APU, and I've got that connected to my home console, and it works just great with Bazzite on it. It can also be used to stream games from your PC to your TV. So let's say you have a bunch of friends coming over, you want to play some local co-op or local multiplayer kind of thing, like party games or something, then you can totally do that. So if you want to get Bazzite on your system, the way you do that is you go to bazzite.gg, and here's their website. It's a nice clean interface. You can get a lot more information about Bazzite and what it does right about here. If you click on view compatible hardware, it's going to give you a full documentation on what's supported, what is not supported, and you can probably go through this and figure out if Bazzite is going to work for you or not, right? Now, going back to this page, when you're trying to download Bazzite, you can just click on download Bazzite and you can select what kind of hardware you've got. So let's say you want to install this on a home theater kind of setup, right? A computer which is connected to your TV. You can click on what vendor you have. You can click like your GPU vendor, I mean. You can click on what environment you prefer. Personally, I would suggest you go for KDE. There is GNOME, but KDE is just better for a gaming environment. Again, this is my opinion, so please don't attack me in the comments below. Now, all you have to click is download Bazzite, save it, and then follow the initial setup guide, which is right here. And it's going to give you all the instructions that you need in order to actually install Bazzite on your system. Now, if you're looking to dual boot between Windows 11 and Bazzite, they have actually created a video here which explains exactly how you're supposed to do this. It can be a little annoying to do initially, but just watch this video. I'm not going to play it right here, but go to bazzite.gg, take a look at this. It's going to be all super clear to you once you actually go through it. Now, I know many of you are going to go in the comments saying, okay, you should probably try Nobara, you should probably try CachyOS. And I've seen those mentioned a lot, and they're great operating systems for what they do. But in my opinion, Bazzite is a better option for most people, and this is why. The first is that Bazzite is atomic, unlike Cachy or Nobara, which is why it's more resistant to breakages. So this is especially true if you're new to Linux and you haven't had any experience with Linux-based operating systems in the past. CachyOS and Nobara might have some quirks which would be difficult for you to work with. Now, CachyOS offers a lot of tweaking and customization options, and you can get amazing performance, but this does come at the cost of stability. So updates can still break things, and your customizations may cause issues with your updates down the line, which is not something that most beginners will be able to deal with easily. Now, Nobara is also not atomic, leading to the same breaking issues with updates. I've personally not used it long enough for that to happen, but it is certainly less stable than an atomic OS, which is guaranteed to have a working image even if an update fails. Now, I can already see some of you coming and claiming that, you can always set up backups and rollback updates on CachyOS and on Nobara as well. But I think Bazzite just kind of sidesteps this entire issue, and its atomic nature is just inherently very resistant to breaking. So, I mean, if you have a solution which just works out of the box, then I think it's wiser to just go with it. Just go check out their website. It's bazzite.gg. I'll put a link down in the description and try it out on your handheld or your desktop. Thank you very much for watching, guys. Hit like if you liked it, dislike if you didn't. Leave a comment down below with your thoughts on this video, and I will see you again in the next one.